Hey, how's it going? It's Jeff, and we are back here with Vampirella. So, today we're gonna finish the costume, for one. We're gonna add that big pumpkin to the bottom, for two. And that might be it. We'll see how far we get. So, yeah, welcome back! Oh, sorry. Sorry, just a little pre-Photoshop stretch. You know, you don't want to go in the Photoshop cold. You want to limber up a little bit. You want to get nice and limber, then dive in. You know, I don't want anyone hurting themselves Photoshopping when they're all tensed up and not limber. Okay. If you remember, last time I mentioned how her hair right here and right here, it should be over her costume, but now it's under her costume, and we're gonna fix it later. But later is now, and we're gonna fix that. And we're gonna fix that by going down to her upper body layer. Right there. And I'm just gonna take the lasso. I'm gonna select this chunk right here. And this chunk right here. Gonna copy that. Go into her top layer. Her top layer, not the top layer. And paste it in there. And create clipping mask so it's only on her clothes. And then I'm just gonna put it on multiply. And there you go. Now I just need a little, get rid of some of this here. And when you zoom in on this, you see the transition between the hair on the suit and the hair on the body. It's a little too harsh. Like the hair on the suit's a little too dark. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back down to my the top layer. There we go. And I'm just gonna use a really small brush. And I'm gonna smooth out that transition between the hair and the suit, just very subtly. Just very subtly. Could probably do with lightening that up a little bit. So next we're going to add in, she has kind of a, I guess like a bat emblem down here on her bottoms. So we're going to put that in. And we're going to use this file right here. I got this off of DeviantArt. I don't remember the name of the artist offhand, but I'll put it in the description along with a link to the original file. And we're just gonna warp it. I'm going to do a little dodging and burning. Darken that up a little bit. Maybe scale that down just a hair. Just a hair. That's better. That's better. And I want to add some texture to this. I don't want it to be just this flat yellow color. I'm going to add a bit of a gold texture. And flip it. Create a clipping mask. So we're gonna move on to the last part of the costume, and she has a little kind of like a gold ring thing right here at the base of her neck. So we're just gonna put that in. And for that, we're gonna use, I have all these key images here. So we're gonna use one of these, one of the ends of the keys for that little gold thing. Which one should we use? I'm kind of liking this. That's kind of interesting. This one. This is nice. And put some later style effects on it. Now I'm going to add some shadows. I don't want to use a drop shadow. Drop shadows they're pretty limited as far as what they can do. They're very flat looking. They have their purpose, but I usually like to paint my shadows in. Maybe this shadow should be a little closer. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. So let's move away from the costume for a little bit. We're going to add the pumpkin she's sitting on. And just drag in my pumpkin file. Going to make my selection. Copy that. And paste it in. Make it bigger, obviously. Let me put that layer on multiply, and let's desaturate it. And pump up our lights so we just have the shadows. And right now the pumpkin stem is kind of in a weird spot, but we're gonna fix that, don't worry. Alright, I'm just going to temporarily move the pumpkin to the top because I want to clip out this, the stem. Now we have a stem layer, pumpkin layer, and I'm going to move that pumpkin layer back to the bottom. If we look on her legs, there's kind of this bluish halo on there. See this right there? It's like it's more purple, but it's like a purplish bluish halo there, and a purplish bluish halo there. That's the reflected light from the blue ball she was sitting on. So she's no longer sitting on a blue ball; she's sitting on an orange pumpkin. So we want to change this to an orange halo instead of this little purplish blue halo. So we're gonna add another layer up here. We'll label this one called orange. That's not spelled right at all. Orange light. And I'm just going to take a sample of the orange from about there I'm just gonna paint in some orange. Alright, let's put that on soft light and see how that looks. What about color? Color's not bad, but it's a little too harsh. Alright, that works. So we had blue reflected light, and we added an orange, just so it looks more realistic. And next we're going to paint in some shadows, because although we saved our shadows from the original picture, we need to paint in some more to make it look more realistic. Alright, so our shadows are looking pretty good, but there's kind of an awkward area right here and here. Let me turn those off. On the pumpkin layer, see there's a highlight right here and kind of a highlight right here. And when you paint a shadow over that on multiply, you get kind of this weird gray dark highlight area, which isn't really realistic. You know, if you had a shadow over a highlighted area, you're not going to get a darkened highlight. You're going to get like a more neutral tone. So we need to fix that. We need to put a more neutral pumpkin tone in there instead of like this weird gray darkened highlight in there and there too. So we're going to fix that really easily. We're just going to make a new layer, put it on darken, not multiply, darken, and just take like a neutral pumpkin color, like this orange right here. And I'm just going to paint over that highlight. You want to make sure it's on darken when you do that, because you just want to darken the highlights, not the entire thing. So you see, we got rid of those weird, this kind of awkward darkened highlight area and just replaced it with a more neutral pumpkin tone. Alright, those shadows on the pumpkin are looking good, but we need a shadow from the stem. Sorry. We need a shadow from the stem on her leg. So I'm going to duplicate my stem layer, and I'm going to change that to stem shadow. I'm going to go back down to my leg group, create clipping mask, put that on multiply, and this is going to drag it over a little bit. First, I'm just going to go to my levels, and I'm going to make it totally dark, so it's just solid black. And I'm going to blur it out a little bit. Turn down the opacity, go to edit, transform warp, and I'm going to warp this to the shape of her leg. But that shadow is a little too gray, so we're going to add some color to that shadow. And I'm going to go down to my blacks and just turn down the cyan. And maybe turn down magenta a little bit. That's pretty good. Turn up the opacity a little bit. And going to mask off the shadow a little bit more on top, so the shadow is darker the closer it is to the stem. Okay, I think that's pretty good. But I want to pump up some of my highlights on the pumpkin. The pumpkin's a little too flat looking for me. So let me just go down to my pumpkin layer. Actually, while I'm there, let me just put that into a group. Call it pumpkin. And to give it some highlights, I'm gonna duplicate the pumpkin layer. I'm gonna put it on screen. Gonna desaturate it, take all the color out. Then I'm gonna go to my levels and just bring over the blacks. Bring over the blacks, bring over the whites a little bit, but mainly bring over the blacks. And you can just play with this and adjust it depending on how strong of a highlight you want. And like we said before, we don't want to highlight underneath the shadow, so I'm going to mask that off. And I want some more highlights over here on my pumpkin, so I'm going to do that one more time. Put it on screen. Saturate it. You could also put this on color dodge or linear dodge, and you'll get a slightly different highlight effect. Maybe color dodge is better. Let's use that. Alright, so I think our big pumpkin is done. That's looking good, but just comparing the big pumpkin to the smaller pumpkins, the color doesn't quite match. These are more of like an intense, brighter orange, whereas the color here it's not so orange. There's some more yellows in it, so I want to get these smaller pumpkins to match the bigger pumpkin. So I'm just going to go to that layer with those pumpkins. There it is. And I'm just going to put an adjustment layer on that. Let's do selective color. And let's start messing around with those oranges. Oh, that's better. Yeah, it's better already. So I'm just going to start off just by masking the entire thing off. And then I'm going to paint back in with white so we get those changes. Select these pumpkins very roughly. That's good. I'm going to feather that selection a little bit. Gonna copy that, paste it in, so now I have a separate pumpkin layer. And I'm just going to try that trick again where I desaturate it and put it on screen and see if I can't get a little more dimensionality out of it. So we are done for now. We finished up the pumpkin, we finished up her suit, and we will most definitely finish in the next video. All we gotta do is add in the background, maybe give her some jewelry, not sure, and then just do some color balancing and color correcting and just give it the right mood and feel. And then after that, we will be done. So stay tuned for that next video when we will finish up. Take care.